I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Brittany, please, let me go into a nursing home. I'll spend any amount of money. Please. Brittany, my mother-in-law, begged while crouched in a puddle, tears streaming down her face, and both my daughter Megan and I couldn't hold back our tears. No matter how kind Brittany was, no matter how much Megan and I wanted to repay her, this situation was leaving everyone in despair. And yet, Brittany finally showed a terrifying face to my sister-in-law Rebecca and niece Sarah, who only talked about money, and my husband Cody, who kept running away. I am Jessica. I work as a dietitian in a nursing home at the age of 47. Preparing menus tailored to the residents' physical functions and health conditions is tough, but seeing their delighted faces when they enjoy the meals is rewarding. Cody works in the service industry, tirelessly on weekends as well. Both of us have demanding jobs and found it hard to take time off, especially when our child was young, fell ill, missed kindergarten or school, or when we both had to work on weekends. During those tough times, my mother-in-law, Brittany, always gladly helped us out. Megan was practically raised by Brittany, she took care of her so much. She was gentle and friendly. She cared deeply for Megan and me, and I could never thank her enough. However, as Megan grew older, our interactions with Brittany decreased. When Megan turned 19, an incident occurred. Brittany collapsed and was rushed to the hospital, suffering from aftereffects that left the right side of her body almost immobile. Last year, her husband, my father-in-law, passed away, leaving Brittany living alone in a big family home. Naturally, she needed care, but Cody's only sister, Rebecca, I moved out because I got married, showed no intention of helping. And yet, she vehemently opposed placing Brittany in a nursing home. In the end, we sold our apartment and moved in with Brittany. I'm sorry. On the day of her discharge, when we went to pick her up from the hospital, Brittany looked so apologetic in her wheelchair. Her arms and legs, visible from her sleeves, had become shockingly thin and frail. Remembering how she used to play energetically with young Megan, being so kind and strong, made my chest tighten. Yes. I have so much to repay her for. Brittany, from today, let's live together. Megan and I were really looking forward to this. Jessica. Tears welled up in her eyes at my words. Thus began my life of caregiving, which was much harder than I had imagined. In the morning, I would do the housework and get Brittany ready, then hand her over to the home care worker. I would hurriedly get myself ready and go to work. After work, I would take over from the home care worker, doing housework while taking care of her. By the end of the day, I was exhausted, collapsing into bed and falling asleep instantly. Cody, seeing me, would say, "Thank you for everything." But he never offered to help with the caregiving. It's hard to see my mother so weak. He wouldn't even enter her room. Even when I asked him to help with the housework, he would say, "I'm a man, I can't do that," and showed no effort to help. Even Megan, who attends college, helps out on weekends. Rebecca and her only daughter, Sarah, only show up occasionally, and when they do, it's just to complain to me. Isn't this room too cold? Are you trying to weaken Mom to get her inheritance? Grandma, are you okay? Isn't Jessica treating you badly? They don't even try to help or contribute money, instead making me the villain while pretending to care for her. The only saving grace is that Brittany is mentally sharp and isn't swayed by Rebecca's words. Thank you for worrying about me. It's okay, Jessica is really taking good care of me. Just the other day, she ordered my favorite apples for me. Brittany smiles and praises me. Well, if you say so. And even Rebecca falls silent. She then complains about her own household to Brittany, and Sarah takes some money for her tuition and leaves. If she wasn't such a kind person, I would have run away with Megan a long time ago. That's how fed up I was with Rebecca and Cody. Still, I managed to juggle caregiving and work for 6 months, but then I twisted my ankle at work and had to use crutches for a month. Of course, I couldn't support Brittany with this foot. I had no choice but to ask Cody to take caregiving leave, but he just said, "It's a busy season now," and left for work as if escaping. Naturally, Rebecca wouldn't help either. So, Megan, who was on summer break, ended up taking time off from her part-time job and club activities to help out. "I'm sorry, Megan. You wanted to spend more time with your friends, didn't you?" Brittany looked apologetic as Megan cared for her. She just smiled and said not to worry, but Brittany kept a sad expression. Brittany cared deeply for Megan, and it pained her to see Megan burdened. One night, Brittany tried to go to the bathroom by herself and had an accident. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Brittany, please, put me in a nursing home. I'll spend whatever it takes. Please." In the middle of a puddle, Brittany curled up and cried, and Megan and I couldn't hold back our tears. No matter how kind Brittany was or how much Megan and I wanted to repay her, this situation was untenable for everyone. I decided to respect Brittany's wishes and started looking for a nursing home. The next day, Brittany and I proposed the idea to Cody. He was puzzled but agreed thanks to Brittany's strong resolve. Due to my job, gathering information on nursing homes was easy, so I quickly shortlisted 3 or 4 places recommended by colleagues. We then matched the budget with her preferences. Each nursing home had its charm, and we prioritized them like we were planning a vacation. There were no immediate vacancies, but we found a place that could take her in about 6 months, which relieved Brittany. Seeing the end of caregiving in sight brought more smiles to our caregiving life. Everything seemed resolved. Or so I thought. When Rebecca and Sarah heard from Cody about Brittany moving into a nursing home, they stormed into my house with faces flushed with anger. "Jessica, what on earth are you thinking, putting Mom in a nursing home? It's so cruel." "Rebecca, please calm down. Brittany herself wanted to move into the nursing home." "Liar. You just got tired of taking care of her and dumped her. How heartless." "Poor Grandma." Sarah pretended to cry beside the shouting Rebecca. "Cody, did you properly explain everything to Rebecca and Sarah? You heard Mom's wishes too, right?" Well, that is..." Cody looked flustered. He was scared of Rebecca's wrath and blamed it all on me. "Coward. So, you're planning to put all the responsibility on Cody? You're really a horrible person. You must have manipulated Mom too." "Ugh, the worst." Sarah fanned the flames of her anger. Cody just stood behind Rebecca, giving me apologetic glances. Then, Megan emerged quietly from her room next to the living room, glaring at Sarah. "Who's the real worst here?" "What?" Sarah's mouth twitched slightly. "Sarah, you haven't forgotten calling me a loser for preparing meals for Grandma, saying it's such a waste of your summer at 20 to take care of a dirty old lady. Well, it's fitting for someone without a boyfriend like you. I'm off to LA with the pocket money Grandma gave me, have you? Did you really say such awful things to Megan?" As I stared at Sarah's face intently, she looked momentarily troubled, then sneered mockingly. "Oh, did I say that? You're just jealous because you don't have a boyfriend." "Yeah, Sarah would never say something like that." "I also know what you and Rebecca do when you visit. Rummaging through Grandma's closet and stealing her rings and stuff." "What?" Rebecca let out a strange sound of surprise. I had suspected that her belongings were dwindling, and it seemed my hunch was right. This woman was the culprit. As Megan and I stared accusingly, Rebecca broke into a cold sweat and shouted, "No way! I was just keeping them safe because I thought you guys would sell them off. We're not after the inheritance like you two are. Then it's fine if we sell this house and put Grandma in a nursing home, right?" "No! That would reduce the inheritance." Rebecca's roar silenced the house. "Oh." Realizing her slip, Rebecca let out a small gasp. "Rebecca." As I opened my mouth to confront her, Rebecca cut me off with her accusations. "How awful! Like mother, like daughter. Trying to ruin me." "Hold on. If you're not after the inheritance, then prove it by taking care of Mom here until the end. Cody, as the eldest son, you should properly discipline Jessica and Megan." Yeah, right. "In any case, I absolutely forbid you from abandoning Mom in a nursing home." Rebecca forcefully imposed her demands and left with Sarah. Cody, unable to bear our cold stares, "That's how it is," also slipped away, saying. Leaving me stunned, Megan let out a deep, deep sigh next to me. "I'm sorry, Grandma. I didn't mean to upset you with such unpleasant stories." "What?" When Megan opened her bedroom door, she found Brittany lying on the bed. "Brittany!" "It's a beautiful day today, so I decided to do a thorough cleaning of Grandma's room. I let her rest here." Megan looked down awkwardly. "Jessica, Megan, I'm really sorry. It's all my fault." Brittany covered her face with trembling hands, and I hurried over to her. "Brittany, it's not your fault at all." "No, it's my fault. I failed at raising my children." "That's..." Megan and I fell silent, unable to find the right words. Brittany also became quiet. "Jessica." "Yes?" Brittany slowly removed her hands from her face, revealing a terrifying expression with eyes burning with anger. "Naughty children need to be punished." "Yes, you're right." Megan and I swallowed nervously, feeling Brittany's genuine anger for the first time. Thus, Megan and I decided to cooperate with her plan for punishment. We checked if this was really the best course of action, but Brittany's determination was unwavering. I also steeled myself, believing this was the best way to exact revenge. A few weeks later, on a weekend when we were ready. When we called Rebecca over, pretending to apologize, she arrived with an air of arrogance. "Rebecca, I'm sorry for the other day. As you pointed out, I did consider putting Brittany in a nursing home because her care is too much for me." Rebecca snorted in satisfaction at my humble posture. "Admitting your fault, how honest. Then from now on..." "Yes, from now on, I'll leave everything to you, Rebecca." "What?" Rebecca's mouth dropped open in surprise, and I continued, looking downcast. "I don't want to take care of Brittany, but I want the inheritance. I don't deserve to take care of Brittany." "What?" "So, I will divorce you and leave this house." "What?" Before Rebecca could react, he screamed in shock. His pale face was amusing, but I held back my laughter and continued my act of being overwhelmed with sadness. Of course, Rebecca was also panicked at the thought of losing her slave. "Wait. What are you talking about?" "Yes. Leaving everything to someone irresponsible like me must worry you too, Rebecca. So, I'll leave." "That's not what I meant." As I tried to leave quietly, Rebecca desperately stopped me. At that moment, Megan appeared, bringing Brittany along. "What's all the commotion about?" Rebecca sighed in relief at Brittany's arrival. "Mom! Listen, Jessica is..." Brittany, from now on, Rebecca will take care of you. So you don't have to go to a nursing home. Wait. Before Rebecca could say anything, I explained the situation loudly, overshadowing her words. Oh my! A daughter is truly a blessing. Daughters-in-law are useless. So, when can I go to Rebecca's house? What? Don't worry. I just arranged a truck, so you can go there today. What? Oh, thank goodness. I'm finally free from this hell. As Brittany and I smiled at each other, Rebecca stood there, stunned. Rebecca seemed utterly overwhelmed by the sudden turn of events. And we've arranged for our moving truck, so we'll be leaving today. Cody, thanks for everything up till now. What? I never agreed to a divorce. Cody's decision has been conveyed to me by Brittany. Look. What? What I thrust at him was indeed a divorce application written in Cody's handwriting. But that's... Cody's face turned pale. Of course, this was all Brittany's strategy to ensure my smooth divorce. In fact, this divorce application was something Brittany had secretly made Cody write. She had told him that if I ever caused trouble, showing me this would make me comply. Had he refused to sign, perhaps there might have been some mercy. But seeing him sign so quickly, whatever little affection I had left for him vanished completely. I looked down at the trembling Cody and then deeply bowed to Brittany. Well then, Brittany, I'll be leaving now. I'm sorry for any trouble I've caused. Don't ever come back to this house. Brittany smiled sadly. And so, Megan and I moved out, leaving the bewildered Cody and others behind, to start our new life in an apartment near Megan's university. Meanwhile, the sudden onset of Brittany's care at Rebecca's house caused absolute chaos. Especially for Rebecca's husband, who hadn't been informed and turned pale as he confronted her. No sympathy for this man who had bought an expensive car counting on Brittany's inheritance. Rebecca and her husband's bedroom became filled with Brittany's care bed and supplies. And Brittany transformed into an incredible tyrant. From morning till night. I need to go to the bathroom. Or, my body hurts, rub it for me. She would summon Rebecca and Sarah. And meals were no better. Hey! This is too salty. How could you serve such cheap food to an old person? She constantly complained. And then, Jessica's cooking was much better. Jessica's massages were the best. She would praise me. At first, driven by pride and the lure of inheritance, they complied with Brittany's demands, but her relentless selfishness wore them out, and they began to ignore her whims. Then Brittany. How cruel! This is abuse. My own daughters are abusing me, would scream. Her voice echoed throughout the neighborhood, forcing Rebecca's family to acquiesce to her demands. Of course, all of this was her act. Having pushed all caregiving onto Megan and me, this was her way of punishing Cody and Rebecca's family, who were eyeing her inheritance. She was always considerate towards Megan and me, only asking the minimum, to the point that we had to take the initiative to help. But those who had never bothered with caregiving couldn't notice Brittany's different attitude. The household's atmosphere deteriorated rapidly, and Rebecca's husband started claiming he had to work late to avoid coming home. Sarah, frustrated, lashed out at her boyfriend and friends, becoming isolated and reclusive. Rebecca forced her brother Cody to stay and help with the caregiving. Cody. I can't bear seeing our parent in such a state, he complained, but Rebecca. Shut up, she snapped. Cody, who couldn't stand up to strong-willed people, reluctantly started caregiving. However, even with Cody joining in, taking care of the physically disabled and very demanding Brittany was incredibly tough. 6 months after pushing Brittany onto Cody, both Cody and Rebecca, now gaunt and exhausted, pleaded with me to put Brittany in a nursing home. We just got a notification that there's an opening at Brittany's first choice nursing home. Really? Showing them the application form for the nursing home in front of their hollow eyes, their faces suddenly lit up with hope. Oh, but nursing homes are not an option, right? I'll go ahead and reject it. As I pretended to tear up the application form, Rebecca and Cody clung to me with pale faces. Wait! Let her in! Please! Huh? But with such wonderful people like Rebecca and Cody, you shouldn't need to put her in a nursing home. We're sorry. You were such a wonderful person. So, please, please, we're begging you. Seeing their desperate plea, I threw the application form at them. Make sure to apologize to Brittany properly. Yes. Their pride and composure completely shattered, they hugged the application form and cried. On the day Brittany moved into the nursing home. When I went to Rebecca's house to pick up Brittany, she was sitting in her wheelchair, looking more wrinkled and weary than before. Kneeling in front of her and rubbing my hands together, I made eye contact with Brittany. Brittany, you did a great job. You can rest now. Enjoy your room with an ocean view. Thank you. Really, thank you. Brittany's frown softened as she began to cry. I also cried as I wiped her tears with a handkerchief. Since then, Brittany has been living her remaining years peacefully in a nursing home near the ocean. The staff are very kind, and the sound of the waves outside soothes her heart every day. Brittany has returned to her gentle self and is popular among the staff and residents. When I take Brittany to the lounge, many people always come up to her. However, this nursing home is quite expensive due to its excellent services. The money from selling the family home was almost entirely spent on the initial costs. Most likely, Brittany's inheritance from her father-in-law and her pension will also go toward paying for the nursing home. So, Rebecca's family, who splurged expecting Brittany's money, and Cody, who lost his home, are working desperately. Even after the caregiving ended, their financial struggles continue. Meanwhile, Megan and I received a trip to France as a thank you from Brittany, who used the money from selling the family home. On the flight, Megan was impressed by the cabin cruise service and decided to work for an airline. Now, she's flying around the world as a flight attendant. Thanks to Grandma, I found a wonderful job. Hearing this from a vibrant Megan. I still had something I could do for Megan. Brittany smiled happily. Moreover, Megan started dating an Italian pilot. So, for the first time in my life, I began taking Italian classes. Starting to learn Italian in my late 50s is quite challenging due to embarrassment and poor memory. But I have the role of teaching Brittany Italian and greeting Megan's boyfriend together. With work and Italian, my life has become busy again. But if it means living such a vibrant life, it's more than welcome. You poor woman can just stand and watch. I was so excited to attend my daughter Margaret's wedding, one of the most important events in her life. But as soon as we arrived at the venue, Sharon, Margaret's MIL, had the audacity to say those words to me. I never expected to be told to just stand and watch. I was so taken aback by her heartlessness that I was left speechless. However, I refused to back down and stay silent. Margaret is my daughter. She's not the type to endure this kind of treatment without speaking up, a trait she likely inherited from me. Margaret stood up with a resolute attitude and declared loud and clear to Sharon. Mom, let's leave here. Yes, let's go, I agreed. There's no need to let these people ruin such an important day for us. Besides, it seems like these in-laws have no understanding of their place. Since we have this opportunity, it might not be a bad idea to make them understand once and for all. From here on out, our mother-daughter counterattack begins, refusing to be pushed around any longer. Within just 10 minutes of our retaliation, Sharon was on the verge of a breakdown. Seeing her like that makes me feel a sense of vindication, but I'm not ready to let up just yet. If they think they can control us as they please, they're gravely mistaken. I'm Nancy, turning 65 this year. But I'm still going strong. I work as a winemaker at a winery. When you hear winemaker, you might imagine a man. But nowadays, I'm happy to say that the number of female winemakers is gradually increasing. I used to be an ordinary woman with no connection to the world of wine. What changed me was a single television program. After graduating from college, I got a job at a regular company. There, I fell in love with a man I met at work, and we were blessed with our daughter, Margaret. Fortunately, I was able to take full advantage of the company's maternity and childcare leave policies, which allowed me to dedicate myself to raising my child without any worries. The days spent with Margaret as she grew up were filled with a happiness that nothing could replace. Yet, there were moments when a small doubt crept into my mind. Is this really enough for my life? On the surface, I had a thriving career, an adorable daughter, and a blessed work environment. My friends often expressed their envy. Still, there were times, like when my daughter was napping, when I was overcome by a sense of emptiness. It was an inescapable void, like a gaping hole in my heart. One such day, while Margaret was napping, I turned on the TV and found myself engrossed in a documentary program that caught my eye. The show followed the work of a winemaker. The man being interviewed said he used to be an ordinary salaryman. As he spoke about quitting his job to pursue his passion for wine and his quest to create the perfect bottle, I felt something stirring deep within me. Perhaps this was what I had been yearning for all along. My father loved wine, and when I lived at home, we enjoyed it together almost every evening. The recommended temperature, the perfect food pairings, the unique flavors, depths, and aromas of each wine, back then, I drank without much thought, but looking back, I realize how incredible it all was. I couldn't help but be amazed by the profound world of wine. Of course, I knew that winery owners were a male-dominated society. There were only a handful of female winemakers out there. That's precisely why I began to nurture a desire to create wines that women could enjoy deliciously and joyfully. My family supported my career change. I'm still filled with gratitude for their cooperation in household chores and picking up the kids. Thanks to their help, I was able to get a job at a winery in the next town over. As it happened, that area had many wineries, and I encountered one that was looking to take on new challenges. I worked as a clerk and a tour guide while studying the fundamentals of wine every day. Since it was a field I was already interested in, I found the learning process enjoyable. I felt a sense of fulfillment that I had never experienced in my previous jobs. But then, just as things were going well, my husband fell ill and passed away. I couldn't let the hopes of my husband, who had supported my dreams and encouraged my winemaking, go to waste. I remember vividly the joy I felt when, after desperately working my way up, I finally joined the ranks of the few female winemakers in the US. As a novice female winemaker in an era when women in the field were not as rare as they are today, my name never made it into the spotlight. But whether my name was known or not didn't matter to me. I believed there was no greater happiness than having the wine I poured my heart into creating be released into the world, bringing moments of joy to many people. As my career began to take off, I received some exciting news in my personal life. "Hey, Mom. There's someone I want to introduce to you," Margaret said shyly. "I met him at a town event the other day. This might be the first time I've introduced someone other than a friend to you, Mom." Someone other than a friend? With those words, I had a hunch. "No way." "Yeah. He's a wonderful person, someone I feel I could be with forever. I'm sure you'll like him too, Mom." On the day Margaret told me about him, I went to our meeting spot and saw a man standing next to her. He was tall and had an impressive, dignified presence. "Mom, this is my boyfriend, James Garcia." James looked at me and greeted me with a friendly smile. It was a perfect smile, like that of a Hollywood actor. He said he was 40, but with such a smart demeanor and charming grin, I thought to myself that women wouldn't leave him alone. "Hello. Thank you for taking the time to meet with me today, despite your busy schedule. I've been wanting to meet Margaret's mother for a while now." We started dating after meeting at a town event. I never imagined I'd encounter such a wonderful person there, so I felt it was destiny. "Don't be embarrassed. It's only natural. since Margaret was the only one shining so brightly in that place. As if remembering the moment they met, the two suddenly started engaging in sweet conversation. Margaret had never been involved in any frivolous talk about men before, always focused on her work. That's why, as a parent, I was genuinely happy that she had found someone she could care for so deeply. During our casual chat, I learned that James was an only child and that he was likely to take over his family's local business in the future. Oh, you're continuing the family business? Yes. Although, it's not anything particularly impressive. If you don't mind me asking, what kind of work is it? We run the Garcia Hotel. It's been getting busy lately, so I'll probably have to start acting as the next president soon. At that moment, Margaret suddenly fell silent. It's wonderful that you're already thinking seriously about such matters. Since we had just met, I thought it best not to say anything awkward and chose my words carefully. Well, given those circumstances, Margaret has been helping out with various tasks at our place. Sort of like training to be a hotel manager, you could say. James spoke with a gentle smile and took a sip of the tea in front of him. For a brief moment, I thought I saw Margaret's expression stiffen. Seeing that expression gave me an unsettling feeling. Huh? Helping out. James raised his hand as if to stop me and began speaking over my words. Well, it's not anything major. But you know, at this age, you can't help but start thinking about the future. I'd like Margaret to become a part of our family. The way James spoke in a torrent of words gave me the impression that he wasn't giving me any opportunity to interject. Is that so? So Margaret kindly agreed to help out, which has been a huge relief. I want to make sure she never feels embarrassed about coming to the Garcia house. Margaret is just an ordinary girl you could find anywhere. She graduated from a local university, works as a company employee, and enjoys shopping and drinking with friends on her days off. She's not the type to stand out much, which made it all the more puzzling. Come to think of it, I hadn't had a single chance to talk directly with Margaret during this tea session. Hey, speaking of which, Margaret. As I tried to speak to her, James once again cut in without missing a beat. That's right, Margaret. You're going to my mom's place after this, aren't you? My mom's been looking forward to picking out your dress. Yes, of course. A dress, could it be? We were talking about having the wedding sometime this year. Popular venues get booked up quickly if you don't reserve early. With a refreshing smile, James looked straight into my eyes and said clearly, I believe a wedding is a kind of closure. That's why I want it to be a space where we can spend a special time with the people important to us. It might be a bit early, but our parents are already getting excited. I was surprised that they were already talking about the wedding, but at the same time, I felt like I had figured out the source of the uneasiness. I understood now the true nature of this discomfort. Whenever I try to talk to Margaret, James interrupts, as if he's avoiding any opportunity for us to speak directly. Could there be some inconvenient topic he doesn't want brought up? I couldn't read anything from Margaret's expression. There were no signs of anything unusual. Please look forward to our wedding. I'm sure it will be a wonderful day for Margaret's mother as well. We'll let you know once the details are settled. We'll be in touch. In other words, they intend to decide everything according to James's family's wishes. I wonder what Margaret thinks about all this. I tried to see her face, but it was hidden behind her hair and I couldn't get a good look. Later, I would come to regret not making time to talk with her directly, even if I had to force the issue. A few days later, a letter arrived from Margaret and James. It was a notice about holding a dinner party for both families to meet before the wedding. It was my work's off-season, so I had some flexibility in my schedule. If they were planning to have the dinner party on that day, I could make arrangements to attend and that would be fine. But I thought they could have at least consulted me before deciding on a date. Suppressing my lingering unease, I tried to contact Margaret to confirm the details. I wanted to ask about the dress code, whether I should bring any gifts, and other small things. She must have been busy lately, as she hadn't even given me a single phone call. When I called, she finally picked up on the 10th ring, but Margaret's voice was so soft I could barely hear her. Apparently she was at work and couldn't talk on the phone. She said she would call back. Feeling bad for interrupting her work, I quickly hung up. But after that, there was no return call from Margaret. Instead, rather oddly, James called. "Nancy, did you receive the invitation to the dinner party?" "Yes, it arrived the day before yesterday." I tried calling Margaret to discuss the dress code, gifts for James's family, and such, but that girl. "There's no need to go to such trouble. Just come as you normally would, that's all that matters." With that, the call ended. Margaret seems to be busy, and I still haven't heard from her. James keeps repeating the same polite, inoffensive things like, "Don't worry about it. Just come as you normally would." In the end, on the day of the dinner, I wore a plain blouse and slacks, and brought a famous brand of cookies as a gift. I considered bringing some of my homemade wine, but I thought they might be surprised to receive wine from someone they were meeting for the first time, so I decided to save the wine gift for another occasion. When I entered the room where the dinner party was being held, everyone except me was already seated. Across from Margaret sat James, and next to him were people who seemed to be his parents. "Nice to meet you. I'm Sharon, James's mother. I'm so happy to finally meet you." At first glance, her attire appeared plain, but each piece she wore was of high quality. And more than anything, her aura was different. Her dignified demeanor and flawless presence reminded me strangely of James. "Nice to meet you." "Well, I've always wanted a daughter. I'm so glad Margaret is joining us. I heard she only had a mother, so I wondered what kind of girl she was, but I feel relieved now." Is this really the time to be saying such things? Everything she says is irritating to listen to. "Well, we're planning to have the wedding soon and preparations are underway. It's sure to be the perfect day to celebrate the start of their life together. Look forward to it." Sharon seems unable to contain her excitement. Her husband just laughs with a ha ha ha, occasionally downing some alcohol, but doesn't seem to do much else. "Oh, and about the wedding gift, let's just forget about that sort of thing." Suddenly bringing up the topic of money, I was at a loss for how to respond when Sharon continued. "A wedding gift? Oh my, are you saying you won't let them marry without a gift? I can't believe there are still families like that these days. So, how much do you want?" I felt like Sharon was glaring at me. "No, I hadn't even considered a wedding gift. We'll follow your wishes on that matter." She's covering her mouth with a handkerchief, but she can't hide her vulgar laughter. "And you'll have to give us a boy eventually, Her outdated remark sent a shiver down my spine. Ever since that unpleasant dinner party, my desire to avoid seeing James and his parents has only grown stronger by the day. 2 weeks after the dinner party, I received a message from James. "We got married today." I wanted to hear the news directly from my daughter, but it seems Margaret has quit her job to help out at the Garcia Hotel. She must be busy with her training as a hotel manager. Still, I had no idea the owners of James's family, who run several hotels in this area as a hotel group, would be so high and mighty. I'll attend the wedding because I want to see Margaret in all her glory. But after that, I'd rather keep my distance from them. Even after our first meeting, I still couldn't get through to Margaret on the phone. She only sends a few messages late at night. No matter what I ask, all she says is, "I've been too busy to contact you. I'm sorry." Her short replies, like telegrams, only add to my anxiety. I managed to find out the date and location of the ceremony, but I don't know anything else. For someone about to get married, I don't sense any aura of happiness from her at all. Can the wedding really go smoothly like this? Even though Margaret has always been somewhat plain, I thought she might show a glimmer of excitement or longing on her face for her wedding day. The day of the wedding arrived, with my unease still lingering. I attended Margaret and James's wedding and tried to find my seat, but it was nowhere to be found. While I was puzzling over this, the ceremony began. As I hurried towards the family seating area, Sharon approached me. "You poor woman can just stand and watch." It was so sudden that I couldn't comprehend what was happening. "I never said you could sit. And to think you'd try to sit in the family section." She looks down on me with an expression of utter disbelief. The people around us don't try to stop Sharon's behavior, they just watch. Some of them even have the gall to point their cameras at me, as if to say, "Oh, something interesting is happening." They seem to delight in the misfortune of others. I never thought I'd be subjected to this kind of treatment at my age. It's as if they anticipated my confusion and planned this whole thing. The other guests, who keep glancing at me out of the corners of their eyes to see my reaction, are all wearing matching ties or handkerchiefs. They have the Garcia Hotel Group logo on them, so they must be Sharon and James's colleagues. I also spot people who seem to be connected to the Garcia Hotel, exchanging drinks while eyeing me. Looking closer, I realize it's wine from my own winery. The moment I saw that, I felt something snap inside me. Perhaps noticing my reaction, Margaret gracefully stood up. As she rose from the stage, her posture was dignified and beautiful, and I found myself captivated by my own child. "Mom, let's go home." Margaret approached me and called out. I stand up to join her. "Yes." I stepped forward from where I was standing, heading towards the stage. I thought I saw James glance in our direction for a moment, but I couldn't care less anymore. There was only one place I needed to go. I grabbed a wine bottle from the drink bar next to the stage. The drink bar corner was set up for the guests. In addition to wine, there was beer and specialty fruit juices. Margaret signaled to a nearby staff member and asked them to bring a large container. There was only one thing I had to do. I took the wines lined up at the drink bar one by one and moved them into the nearby container the staff had brought. Then I asked the venue staff to carry the entire container outside. "What are you doing?" "I won't allow you to do as you please." "Huh, Margaret's mother, do you want the alcohol that badly?" "Oh, I see. So that's how it is. If you can't get by without drinking cheap booze, then by all means, take it." I pulled out a slip of paper and a check from my bag. "I can't leave this wine with people like you who don't understand its value and don't appreciate it." I filled out the check I had in my bag with the regular price of the wine. "I put my heart into making this for the ceremony. I'm so sorry it was completely out of place." "What is the meaning of this? A poor person writing a check. Don't make me laugh." "And what's this about putting your heart into making it? I haven't heard anything about that." James was beside himself, making a pitiful scene, while Sharon glared at me from the family seating area, waving her handkerchief. But I no longer had anything to fear. As the parent who gave birth to this wine, I simply cannot leave it with people who don't understand its worth. It's too painful to watch, so I will buy it back." "Huh? Parent who gave birth to it? What are you talking about?" The moment Sharon stopped waving the handkerchief in her frenzied state, I spoke out without a moment's hesitation. "I'm the one who crafted this wine. As a winemaker, it's like my own child that I've poured my heart and soul into raising. I can't stand by and watch it being treated so terribly. And as Margaret's mother, I can't endure this humiliation any longer." "You're lying, right? That wine, isn't it from the winery we always use at the hotel? I thought the winemaker was some old man." "I'm working as the next generation winemaker. It's a shame that you are saying you have no interest in your business partners." The wine I was holding was the one I had brought as a gift for this wedding. It was a special, once-in-a-decade vintage. It was a wine I had created with the sole desire to make something worthy of celebrating my beloved daughter's wedding someday. It was one of the bottles I had crafted with a premium label and serial number, not available in regular stores or bars. The guests who seemed to know it had been made with a premium label started murmuring. Apparently, among wine enthusiasts, the wine I had crafted with Margaret's wedding in mind was known as the Phantom Wine. There were a few people even in this venue who genuinely wanted to savor that wine. However, I'm sorry to say that as the winemaker who gave birth to this wine, and as a mother, I have convictions I cannot compromise. "Nancy, please calm down a bit." "What do you mean, calm down?" "I mean, you know, there are a lot of guests watching. For now, just calm down and take your seat." After telling me to take a seat, perhaps realizing that I didn't have one, he started whispering something to a nearby staff member. I could hear him clearly from where I was standing, instructing them to add a chair to the family seating area. I couldn't stay silent any longer. "I'd like to know, why did you hold this wedding?" I asked, looking James straight in the eye. "Well, you know, a wedding is to announce your marriage to everyone who came, and then to express your gratitude to your parents, like we got married. Thank you for everything up until now." "Oh, how wonderful. I'm so glad my boy grew up to be such a kind man." Sharon was expressing her joy without any regard for the people around her. "I understand now what you mean. Hearing that, James looked at me with a relieved expression and picked up the microphone. I'm glad Margaret's mother understands. Now, please take your seat. We have the rest of the ceremony to get through. James urged me to sit down as if nothing had happened. I couldn't comprehend what kind of nerve it would take to tell me to shut up and participate in the ceremony. At that moment, Margaret stood up. I can't stand up anymore. She was staring straight at James. James pleads with Margaret, as if seeking her help. Hey, Margaret. Nancy seems a bit worked up, so could you say something to her too? If this keeps up, it'll inconvenience the guests. As James glances at the guest seating while saying this, Margaret declares with an unwavering voice, I've decided that I cannot share my life with you. Besides, we're not even married yet. I apologize to all of you in attendance. With that, the guest seating area begins to buzz with chatter. Well, of course it would. Announcing that they're not even married yet at a wedding ceremony, a celebration of their new beginning. However, Margaret carries herself with a dignified demeanor, as if she can't even hear the murmurs and whispers. As if to say she has no doubts about what she's done, Margaret turns to face James and starts speaking. Undaunted by the reactions around her, Margaret continues. And this will serve as evidence too. The rules of dormitory life. The photos sent to the guests and me are printouts labeled dormitory contract. I'm overwhelmed by the content that reads like school regulations. It details minute rules of daily life, penalties, how to spend days off, and so on. When you showed me around the hotel, I thought something was off about the employees' behavior. I never imagined it was because of these rules, though. Looking through the photos Margaret sent, I see company mottos and regulations that are unthinkable in this day and age. Smartphones collected during work hours. Computers and smartphones in the dormitory require permission. Use of social media prohibited. And so on. Even high school students these days wouldn't be able to put up with this. In other words, you make sure inconvenient truths don't get out to the public. In fact, you've been manipulating the books as you please, so you can't talk your way out of it. No, that's a misunderstanding. It's truly her misunderstanding. At this, Margaret cuts him off with a look that says she can't bear to listen, and places accessories like necklaces and brooches, as well as her purse, in front of James. I thought the Garcia Hotel's online reviews were too good to be true, but to think it's because you've been silencing your employees. Trying to boost sales through such underhanded manipulation is despicable. No, just hear me out. Let's hear this first, shall we? Margaret plays a recording app on her smartphone. You can't even do something like this? What's wrong with you? I could send you back to your parents' place. You were using your smartphone without permission in the middle of the night, weren't you? If you can't focus on your work, are you going to quit? But if you leave this hotel, you won't be able to find work anywhere else with your skills. Sharon and James's intimidating scolding continues. Hey, can I dock this girl's pay? Rather than paying a useless person like her, it'd be far more meaningful to add it to James's allowance. Oh, of course. Let James buy whatever he likes. I'm sick of even looking at this waitress's face. Sharon and James's yelling goes on and on. What will you do if more people find out about this? James and Sharon are struck speechless, frozen in place. James then looks at us with an expression that seems to plead for mercy. However, considering everything that's happened, we can't afford to go easy on him. Hey, back when we first met, there was a time when you gave me gifts like accessories, remember? Why did you give me those presents? Well, you see, I was desperate to catch Margaret's attention, so... Then do you remember saying this? She takes out a wallet, necklace, and brooch from her pouch, clearly high-end items at a glance, and places them on the table before asking. I'm pretty sure you said, with just a little effort on my part, buying something like this is a piece of cake, didn't you? In an instant, the color drains from James's face. What? No way, that must have been, it was obviously a joke. I wish it had been a joke too. But it wasn't, was it? Margaret operates her smartphone and sends images to the guests' smartphones. You use this money to buy gifts for me, right? The books from this period look suspicious. Suspicious? That must be your imagination. It looks like you've been falsifying the books quite a bit, not just during this period. I noticed after I started dating you and was made to work under the guise of hotel manager training. James and Sharon turned pale. I thought, wow, they're keeping pretty sloppy books. And then you launched a gift strategy to win me over as your prospective wife? Even from a distance, it's clear that the color is gradually draining from their faces. It must be something serious. Hey, what do these numbers represent? Margaret holds out a ledger book right in front of James. Huh? What's this? And why does Margaret have this notebook? It's the calculation ledger. You insisted on doing it on paper and writing everything by hand in a notebook, remember? I flip through the notebook in my hands and stop on a certain page. Who was it that pushed this on me, saying, to become a hotel manager in the future, you need to be able to read a book or two? No, that's not what I meant by that. Sharon tries to make excuses in a noticeably high-pitched voice. In other words, Sharon must have known about James's embezzlement and extravagant spending too. This. There's no talking your way out of this. No way. The notebook contained detailed records of the flow of money. The amounts here and there don't match up. And the sheer size of these amounts isn't normal. Look, you just need to write these things down roughly. A ballpark figure is fine. Margaret doesn't understand that balance, so she tries to do it too meticulously and fails. James speaks to me with a know-it-all attitude. Just so you know, I used to work in accounting, so I can't turn a blind eye to these money flows. If I overlook these small discrepancies, it'll come back to bite me later. I shove the notebook back at James. No, you can't judge our hotel based solely on the notebook of some company's accountant. What? Are you serious? Even James, as bold as he is, seemed to realize he couldn't continue this conversation any further. He finally shut his mouth. Falsifying money, using it for entertainment, wasting it. It's absolutely unforgivable. That's why, when you told me to issue a marriage license, I actually tore it up and threw it away. What? No matter how excellent someone may be, no matter how distinguished their family background, I don't want to become family with someone who falsifies money and causes others to feel distrust and unease. Margaret said all of this in one breath and then left the venue. That's my daughter for you. She has a strong core. Alarmed by this, James timidly approached me. Hey, Margaret was just joking earlier, right? Surely she wouldn't say she's not getting married after all, not after holding such a grand wedding ceremony, right? What are you talking about? I ask, looking James in the eye. I mean, come on. If she gets married now, and married to me at that, she'll be set for life. And if she says, never mind, I'm calling it off here and now, wouldn't that be fraud? James looks at me with a smug expression. I respect my daughter's thoughts and decisions. It's not about it being a wedding ceremony or not. About 10 minutes after Margaret said to me, Mom, let's go home. Sharon had become half-crazed. Who do you think we are? Enough with the disrespect. You're just a lowly winemaker. The easygoing smile from before had vanished from Sharon's face as she became hysterical. I've decided not to do business with those I can't trust, so if you'll excuse me. In the end, it was decided that there would be no further dealings with the Garcia Hotel. I don't want to supply the wine I poured my heart into making to a place that treats it so carelessly. And it seems Margaret was able to properly say goodbye to James. When they first started dating, she apparently thought James was wonderful, but halfway through, she seemed to come to her senses. When you're actually in that environment, it can be hard to notice that something's off, even when it is. I have experience with that myself. But there's nothing good about being in an environment where you can't cherish yourself. Margaret seemed to realize that through this experience, and I'm really glad. It put my mind at ease. Mom, I'm sorry for causing you so much trouble. It's okay, I'm just glad you realized it. And I never imagined the wine I made would be treated like that either. Since the day she fled the Garcia Hotel and broke up with James, Margaret has been working hard on her job hunt. Luckily, she quickly found a new workplace and seems to be living fulfilling days now. As for me, I'm still devoted to making wine as always. This year, we're launching a new series for the first time in several years, so the winery is extremely busy day and night. There's no time to relax, but I think it's fine because it's enjoyable in its own way. Plus, this is the first time I'm serving as the face of the brand for a new series launch, so there's that pressure too. Delicate wines, crafted by a female winemaker. With that concept, I'm determined to pour everything I've got into it. The product concept and aim were spot on, and the wine I produced became a huge hit. When I started appearing more in magazines, brochures, and sometimes even on TV, the thing I feared happened. Right after I got to work, a male employee who had arrived earlier stopped me. Apparently, a woman was sitting down at the entrance for visitors. According to him, she refused to budge until she met with me. Got it. I'll go check it out. When I went to the visitor entrance, I found the last person I expected. You finally came. As expected, a popular female winemaker is on a different level. Don't think you can do business as usual around here after humiliating me. I've been doing business with this winery since the previous generation. I could agree to a big contract with you again, you know. The two were talking big, but they looked much shabbier than the last time I saw them. Their clothes had lint, stains, and frays that were noticeable even from a distance, making them look pitiful. Hey, are you listening? I thought you might be in trouble since you can't do business with the Garcia Hotel anymore, so I'm reaching out to you. How about you give me an answer? If you just bow your head now, I'm saying I'll do business with you like before. You know what'll happen if you waste this chance, don't you? I took a breath and said to them, you are neither affiliates nor customers. And of course, I'd like you to refrain from such nuisance behavior in the future. At that, Sharon grabbed my shoulder with such force that it seemed she might attack me at any moment. That's quite a way to talk. Do you understand your position? Someone who hasn't received a proper education couldn't possibly know how to speak properly, could they, Mom? Besides, an old, run-down winery like this is bound to fail soon anyway. I'm appalled by their outrageous attitude, but if I leave them unchecked, they'll just repeat the same things. I was aware that you were loitering around the employee entrance and peering inside from the visitor entrance many times. And of course, I also know you took products from the souvenir shop for winery tour guests. No, that was, well, it was so terrible that I consulted the police. When we installed security cameras, we got solid evidence of your numerous nuisance behaviors. With this much evidence, I'm sure you two intelligent individuals can understand. When I said that and turned to them, their faces were paler than I'd ever seen before. No, that's such an underhanded trick. The two seemed determined not to apologize. It's easy to imagine that their pride won't allow them to apologize because they look down on me. Well, I guess it can't be helped. For now, I need to get back to work. Huh? Then, for today, I'll take my leave here. With that, I walked away from the two and returned to my workplace. Afterward, I took the security camera footage, recorded conversations as evidence, and the shoplifting history to the police for consultation. As a result, Sharon and James's actions were deemed malicious, and they now have a criminal record. Naturally, this also tarnishes the name of the Garcia Hotel Group. The hotel industry has been in a tough situation due to factors like the decline in travelers, but this latest trouble with the management seems to have made things even worse. With the flood of low ratings on review sites, it's likely only a matter of time before they go under. But that has nothing to do with me. I'm finally free from the problems with Sharon and James and have regained a peaceful life. As a producer, I'm truly happy that the wine I made has generated a lot of buzz, caught the eye of international travelers, and become an even more popular product. Not only have shipments increased, but the winery's name recognition has also gone up, making me even more enthusiastic about my work going forward. From now on, I intend to work even harder to ensure that many people seeking this flavor can enjoy the wine I create.